Finance. The ministers have now responded to the clarifications, and we have come to the end of the deliberations on this agenda point. Several motions have been submitted, and we now go over to firstly voting on these motions. We will start first with the handling of these motions. There have been 3 motions presented by a member of Parliament and supported by other members, and I will read these motions numbered 1 through 3. Draft motion number 1, motion identification taxi and bus drivers. The Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, March 10th, 2016, that is when the motions were presented, considering the motion of the Youth Parliament as adopted that something should be done to increase the trust in public transportation, that tourism is the main pillar of the economy of St. Martin, that the tourists who visit our island frequently make use of our taxis and buses, that buses as a mean of transportation is widely used by the public in general, the need to make the service to the tourists and our locals more professional and safe, resolves to request the Minister of Justice to come with guidelines or adjustment of the traffic ordinance or other relevant regulations to make it mandatory that drivers of taxis and buses have their identification card and an emergency phone number on a spot in the taxis and buses where it is visible for every passenger when in the taxis and or buses, and goes over to the order of the day. Copies of this motion to be sent to the government of St. Martin. Does anyone wish a roll call vote on this motion number 1? No request for such, and so this motion, motion number 1, the motion of identification taxi and bus drivers, has been accepted unanimously by Parliament. I go over to motion number 2. Draft motion, a motion on mandatory service for the youth of St. Martin. The Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, March 10, 2016, the date when this motion was submitted, considering the unemployment rate of the youth of St. Martin between the ages 18 and 25, the need to have options for young people, the fact that the National Ordinance mandatory service is still applicable on St. Martin, resolves to request the Minister of General Affairs to prepare the necessary guidelines and make the necessary facilities available to start recruiting the unemployed youngsters born in St. Martin between the ages of 18 and 25 for the mandatory service, mandatory military service that is, starting January 2017, and goes over to the order of the day, copies to be sent to the government of St. Martin. Does anyone wish roll call vote, so-called hoofdelijke stemming on motion number 2? No hoofdelijke stemming. Motion number 2, motion mandatory service for the youth of St. Martin, is hereby unanimously adopted and passed by Parliament. Motion number 3, a motion for job-secured scholarships. Draft motion. The Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, March 10, 2016, the date that this motion was presented, considering the policy of the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports regarding the granting of scholarships and student loans to young students, that in government and the private sector, the need can exist for a specific profession, that providing a secure job to a person with a scholarship is motivation to return to St. Martin if they are studying abroad. The fact that some employees, after many years of excellent performance, are in need of retraining and or educating themselves in a different field, but because of their age or other factors may not be eligible for a study financing. That these employees, for the most part, are very motivated to take on a new challenge. That therefore, these employees will certainly get a job after completing their studies. That a job-secured scholarship is the financing of a study and or training for a specific need in the private and or public sector with the security of a job completion, with a job at completion of the assignment, resolves to request the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports to take into consideration, to develop a policy with regard to study financing, to create a possibility that a number of job-secured scholarships that can be granted to persons who desire to make use of it. And goes over to the order of the day, copies of this motion to be sent to the government of St. Martin. Does anyone wish a roll call vote, so-called hoofdelijke stemming, on motion number 3? No need for hoofdelijke stemming, and so Parliament of St. Martin has adopted motion number 3, motion Jobs Secured Scholarships, as presented. That motion is hereby accepted. According to Article 57 of the Rules of Order, we now go over to the voting on the draft national ordinance stipulating the budget of the country for the year 2016, National Ordinance Budget 2016. We will vote on the Article 1 and its attachments. Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, Title, Consideration, the draft in its entirety as modified by the first and second memorandum of notification. Does any member request a voting by roll call, a so-called hoofdelijke stemming?
Hoofdelijke stemming.
Hoofdelijke stemming requested, and we go over to the voting on the budget. We start with voting by the number 10. And we start with Rudolph Samuel.
Madam Chair, point of order.
4.
Number 11, MP Van U de Wever. Christophe Emmanuel.
4.
Maurice Lake.
4.
MP Tamara Leonard. MP Leona Marlin.
Madam Chair, can I motivate my vote?
You may motivate your vote, MP Leona Marlin.
Madam Chair, in my line of questioning, well, not the questioning, but the amendments, I wanted to be clear that the things that I asked for, the people of St. Martin, were budget neutral. The posts that I looked at in the budget were basically cutting back on specific areas, such as the materiële kosten, the reis en verblijfkosten, so that's the travel of the ministries. I look at also the representatiekosten, so when you go out and you entertain persons. I also looked at overige goederen en diensten. Those were where I found the funds from to allocate to the things that I deemed important, such as the neonatal care, the life and disability insurance for our police officers, Madam Chair. I also looked at the extra burial costs, the funds for the VKS, they were all budget neutral. And Madam Chair, since I have no indication that the minister will even consider, I will not take empty promises. I also asked for indication that certain measures will be taken to assist our seniors in lowering the cost. I heard nothing of substantial here today. So I will not vote for or against, and because I have to leave the premises, I will. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Department of Communication, in collaboration with the University of St. Martin, invites you to our first in a series of lectures entitled The Law Matters to You. Join us at USM, 7 p.m. Tuesday, March 29th, and hear keynote speaker Judge Moritz DeCourt cover the topic, The Court and Legal System of St. Martin, The Law Matters to You, a lecture series built to inform and educate.
MP Silvio Matzer.
Madam Chair, I would like to motivate my vote. First thing first, Madam Chair, glory be to God. And I did not speak in the round, so I could not speak. So I would like to say I'm happy to be back here and that I get the chance due to the fact that I could have talked like this. The reason why I would like to motivate my vote is, Madam Chair, that I had to speed up everything with the newspapers and everything, and I was so sad to see that how a member of parliament is going through a particular situation, and then all at once you read in a short notice within last night and this morning to see that how members in here was jockeying for this particular seat here, what's here, but it's like if it was a real estate property to be able to get certain things moving, and then they don't take the country in consideration. Madam Chair, I went through a very difficult time this last 2 weeks, but my country means everything to me. That's why this morning I'm right here, Madam Chair, standing strong. And the reason why I'm for this budget, Madam Chair, is at the end of the day, there's too much young people out there hoping for this government to get particular things going for them to be able to have work out there. So if anyone thinks or whatever that this particular seat was bought, this particular seat was given from the heart of the people of St. Martin. And Sylvia Matza didn't need to buy that. That came from the heart of the people. And Madam Chair, it is sad to see that there's members in here, as soon as one member goes through anything, that they will do anything to try their best to stop that particular person. But Madam Chair, glory be to God, and no weapon that form against me can prosper. And I thank my mom and my aunts for being here with me through all these trials. And most of all, Madam Chair, as I say, I went through a lot of things. I would like also to give thanks to the Prime Minister and Madam Chair for standing strong with me out there. And that's why I say I am glad to be back, and nobody could have stopped this budget no matter what they try. And that's why I'm for the budget.
Thank you, MP Silvio Matzer. MP George Pantoflet, you have the floor on the voting.
Madam Chair, allow me to motivate my vote very briefly. Madam Chair, I have always been one who always looked at the importance of any country when it comes to the budget. Because without money, Madam Chair, I don't care who you are, there's not much you can accomplish. The discussion on the budget, Madam Chair, has gone on for quite a long time, and I believe those who are following and have the understanding would know that this budget is not what we would like it to be. But Madam Chair, we have moved away from unrealistic budgets to realistic budgets. Madam Chair, I looked at the global 2016 prognosis, and I tell you something, it does not look too rosy. So it is important for us now to start tightening our waist before tomorrow we are forced to do so. So Madam Chair, taking the country of St. Martin as the most important thing for us all here today, I have the privilege of voting for this budget, Madam Chair, so I vote for the budget.
Thank you, MP George Ponteflet. MP Hyacinth Richardson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the ministers, radio listeners, members of Parliament. Good afternoon. Good morning. Madam Chair, allow me to motivate my vote. I am definitely going to vote for this budget within a minute or so. But Madam Chair, why would I vote for this budget? And why should my colleagues who left the floor should have voted for this budget is because this budget having the pension fund. Money is allocated for the pension fund, which was delayed over years. It has money also allocated for school teachers. It having money for the youngsters with the unemployment initiative by the Prime Minister. And we could go on, Madam Chair. So therefore, it is important also to make note that the MP retract her motions. And if you retract your motions, there's no need for no discussions on those particular motions, amendments. So, Madam Chair, I vote for this budget to take care of the people of St. Martin. I thank you.
Thank you, MP Hyacinth Richardson. MP Dr. Lloyd Richardson, you have the floor.
May I substantiate my motion?
Surely, MP.
I vote. Thank you, Madam Chairlady. Welcome to the members of the Council of Ministers, people in the Tribune, my colleagues, those listening by radio and television viewers. Madam Chair, I have gone through all the deliberations on this particular budget. I have stated when I spoke in the first round, the budget is no different to any of the budgets that we have seen since 2010. 2010 and 2011 not being part of them. This country is in peril in this particular area. And I made some demands that would be difficult to place into an amendment to the budget, and if placed into the amendment of the budget, would actually cause more postponement so that they could be handled. In my deliberations with the Minister of Finance, he assured me that these issues will be addressed. We are gentlemen in here. I take him to his word. I don't need anything on the script or piece of paper when a budget is actually a projection. And the minister cannot guarantee that these funds will be forthcoming. What I am willing to deal with is the willingness of the minister to deal with these issues, which I hold him to. The business of running a country is a serious one. That's the way I deem it. I don't need no prompting. I don't need no deals. It's Lloyd Richardson you're speaking to, the son of Josiah Richardson. I stand by my word. I told the minister if he would make these considerations that I would support this budget. But I hasten to say that this government is still in peril. We have seen this type of thing before, and we have done the right thing then. That was when it was Lewis. Today, it's the same, and we should not continue like this. And where that is concerned, I will be exemplary. And for said reasons, and what I have already explained, I vote for the budget.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams for the budget, the draft budget 2016. Before I go over to give you we have not, somewhere, somehow, we do not have on our list, and this is to my Secretary General. Where do we? Yes. I did, so my vote is there, but MP Christophe Emmanuel has not yet voted. So that's okay, Nancy. That can happen. MP Christophe Emmanuel.
Madam Chair, can I motivate my vote?
Please.
Good morning to everyone. The voice is a little down. Madam Chair, in motivating my vote, I just want to say to a colleague member of Parliament that from the first time I got to know this gentleman, I looked up at him then. When he became a member of the National Alliance, I looked up at him then. When he left the National Alliance, I still looked up at him then. And at this time, Madam Chair, I looked up at him even more. And I'm saying to my colleague, Dr. Lloyd Richardson, I thank you very much for voting for the people of St. Martin. I thank you very much because we have had our discussions. We have had our differences. And throughout it all, when I disagree, I said, Doc, I don't agree with you. He would say, then let us agree to disagree. So I want to say, in motivating my vote, Dr. Lloyd Richardson, Member of Parliament, thank you very much. I'll give you the handshake after. Madam Chair, I vote for the budget.
Thank you. Thank you, MP Christophe Emmanuel. And our apologies from this side of the desk for basically not giving you the opportunity when you should have received it. It is the chairperson should always vote last. I just mentioned that, but I have voted, and I wanted to state before going over to indicating the numbers, I think a few things need to be clarified. And I want to take us back to the Constitution of Country St. Martin, in which it states that Parliament may only deliberate and make decisions if more than half of the number of sitting members are present at the meeting. For this voting, that was the case. It also continues to say, the Constitution of St. Martin, decisions are taken by an absolute majority of the votes cast, unless otherwise specified in the rules of order of Parliament. And then, before again I give the number of votes cast, I want to specify our rules of order, and it states, Article 57, sub 4, each member is obligated to cast his or her vote, and does so with the words voor or tegen, or with the words for or against. It says, continues to say, without any addition, but an article or a sub of the article before that allows members to motivate their votes, as has been done. That would mean that as far as votes cast, 8 votes have been cast, all in favor of the budget of Country St. Martin. We know nothing as abstention from voting in our rules of order. In accordance with the rules of order, 8 votes have been cast, 8 votes in favor of the budget of Country St. Martin, and this means that the budget has been accepted and adopted by Parliament. According to Article 88, subsection 1 again of our Constitution, Parliament shall notify the government that Parliament has approved the draft of the budget 2016 into law in its public meeting of today. I would like to thank the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Mr. William Marlin, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Richard Gibson, the Minister of Justice, Mr. Kirindongo, the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, Ms. Silveria Jacobs, the Minister of Health, Social Development and Labor, Mr. Emily, the Minister of Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Mr. Myers, and the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Ms. Arundel, and their entire support staff, not only for today, but for all of the days that they have assisted the government and the Parliament of St. Martin. Thank you for your presence here today in the Parliament of St. Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this meeting, and I thank you for your participation. Members of Parliament, thank you, and I hereby close this meeting. Meeting closed.